A simple hoodie, a lavish showroom, and a revelation that dropped jaws. Imagine what unfolds when a car dealership manager utterly misjudges the man who, in secret, actually owns the entire establishment. Orion pulled into the expansive parking lot of Apex Motors, the crown jewel dealership he'd recently acquired in sun-drenched Meridian, Nevada. The desert heat shimmered off the impeccably polished, luxurious vehicles arrayed out front, their sleek finishes practically glowing under the afternoon sun. He tucked his unassuming utility vehicle into an unmarked spot towards the back and stepped out, pausing for a moment to absorb the dealership's grand facade. He hadn't dressed to command attention, quite the contrary. A simple charcoal hoodie, slightly faded denim, and comfortable sneakers formed his uniform for the day. His choice of casual attire was a deliberate act. He craved to witness the dealership's authentic operation, to experience its true character when the new boss's watchful eye was entirely unknown. As he strode towards the main entrance, he spotted a small cluster of employees inside, their relaxed chatter drifting from near the front desk. The soft hum of their laughter and easy conversation carried effortlessly through the gleaming glass doors. Orion opened the door and stepped within. The air-conditioned showroom offered a stark, refreshing contrast to the sweltering heat outside, filled with the subtle aroma of fine leather and fresh car wax. Rows upon rows of pristine automobiles gleamed invitingly beneath the bright overhead lights. The casual chatter abruptly hushed as he entered. Orion caught the swift, knowing glances exchanged between the employees, their eyes flicking dismissively towards his hoodie and sneakers. He sensed the almost imperceptible shift in energy, a silent communication that spoke volumes, louder than any spoken word. Yet he wasn't there to make snap judgments. He was here to observe, to understand. Then, from across the expansive showroom, she materialized. Veronica. Veronica was a woman of mature years, possessing sharp features and an even sharper penetrating gaze. Her impeccably tailored blazer and highly polished heels exuded an undeniable aura of authority, and the clipboard tucked securely under her arm added a distinct air of practiced efficiency. She approached with a determined purpose, her heels clicking a rhythmic beat against the pristine, polished floor. Her initial expression was politely composed, yet a subtle tightness around her smile did not escape Orion's keen notice. "Excuse me," Veronica began, her voice cool, crisp, and clipped. "Can I assist you with something?" Orion offered a calm, unruffled smile. "Just here to browse," he replied casually, a gentle gesture encompassing the gleaming vehicles. Veronica's eyes narrowed, thoroughly scanning him from head to toe. Her polite veneer slipped ever so slightly, replaced by a less welcoming, almost disdainful expression. "Are you in the market for a car?" she inquired, her tone laced with a distinct edge of skepticism and doubt. Orion nodded, his smile unwavering. "Something along those lines." Veronica's lips pursed almost imperceptibly. "Well, we cater to a very exclusive clientele here. Most of our inventory demands pre-qualification. Perhaps I could suggest—" Before she could fully articulate her thought, another employee's voice called out, "Hey, Veronica! The delivery person is here!" Her attention flickered away for just a fleeting moment, but her gaze snapped back to Orion, as if to ensure he wouldn't dare wander too far. Orion merely raised an eyebrow, maintaining his light, unbothered tone. "You're assuming I'm not qualified?" The directness of his question seemed to momentarily catch her off guard, but only for an instant. She swiftly regained her composure, her posture stiffening. "I'm merely attempting to save you some valuable time," she countered, with a visibly forced smile. "These vehicles commence at 6 figures. Perhaps I can direct you to—" Orion's expression remained perfectly neutral, though internally he meticulously noted her chosen words. His calm demeanor was utterly unshaken, yet the subtle sting of her immediate assumptions was undeniably present. The moment lingered, a palpable tension suspended in the air, as Veronica stared at him with an expectant, almost challenging gaze. Orion casually surveyed the showroom, feigning admiration for one of the nearby cars. It was a sleek silver coupe with an unmistakably aggressive design. His fingers lightly brushed the door handle, and he glanced back at Veronica. "Nice car," he stated simply. Her brows furrowed ever so slightly, but she quickly produced another forced smile. "Indeed it is. Perhaps when you are genuinely prepared to make a serious inquiry, we can arrange an appointment. For now, I must request that you refrain from touching the vehicles." Orion stood there for a beat, processing her words, before stepping back from the car. He gave a single slow nod, his hands now casually in his pockets, and gestured for her to continue. "All right then, let's hear it. What exactly would you recommend for someone like me?" Veronica blinked, clearly taken aback by the bluntness of his query. But before she could articulate a response, Orion added, "If you truly believe you know what I require, I'm entirely receptive." Her polite facade finally cracked, just enough to reveal the thinly veiled impatience simmering beneath. "Perhaps something a bit more budget-friendly? I can provide you with directions to a dealership specializing in pre-owned vehicles." Orion offered a faint smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. He had witnessed enough. "That's quite an assumption," he murmured softly. The statement hung in the air, and for a fleeting moment Veronica visibly faltered. Then, reclaiming her composure, she squared her shoulders. "I shall return with a selection of options," she declared, turning and walking away with brisk, determined steps. Orion watched her depart, his expression utterly unreadable. He turned his attention back to the silver coupe, his reflection gazing back at him from its glossy finish. This, he thought, was certainly shaping up to be an unexpectedly interesting day. Orion stood serenely in the very heart of the showroom, his hands casually tucked into his pockets, his gaze gracefully drifting over the magnificent lineup of cars. He was not a man given to hasty judgments, yet Veronica's dismissive demeanor was undeniably difficult to overlook. Around him the staff had gradually resumed their low conversations, though he occasionally caught discreet glances in his direction. It was precisely the kind of scrutiny he had grown accustomed to over the years. The silent assessment, the subtly coded expressions. Veronica returned a moment later, her clipboard clutched tightly, almost like a protective shield. Her brisk stride and the stubbornly forced smile she wore betrayed her underlying annoyance. "All right," she declared, halting a few feet away from him. "I've carefully compiled a few options that might prove more suitable for your situation." Orion tilted his head slightly, a subtle hint of curiosity in his posture. "My situation?" "Yes," Veronica replied, her tone sharp and precise. She extended a printout of various pre-owned vehicles towards him, each accompanied by detailed descriptions and price tags, notably below the dealership's typical high-end offerings. These are more accessible models. Reliable, economical, and, well, practical. Orion accepted the list without a single word, his eyes swiftly scanning the page. A used sedan, an older SUV, a compact hybrid. A faint twitch of amusement played at his lips, but he expertly masked it, folding the paper and tucking it neatly into his pocket. "I appreciate the effort," he said, his voice perfectly even. Veronica seemed momentarily disarmed by his unexpectedly mild response, but she quickly recovered, her hand settling firmly on her hips. "Listen," she began, lowering her voice as if about to impart a confidential secret. "I'm merely trying to be realistic with you. Apex Motors isn't designed for everyone. I genuinely don't wish to waste your time." Orion met her gaze, his expression calm yet utterly unwavering. "And what precisely leads you to believe I'm not your intended customer?" Veronica hesitated, but only for a mere fraction of a second. "I've been in this business for a considerable period," she stated. "I can discern when someone is beyond their depth." "Beyond their depth?" Orion repeated, his voice neutral, almost contemplative. "Intriguing." A flicker of uncertainty momentarily danced in Veronica's eyes, yet she pressed onward. "I'm simply being candid. It's preferable to be straightforward than to have someone depart feeling disappointed." Orion let out a soft, almost imperceptible chuckle, shaking his head ever so slightly. "Candid, huh? I appreciate candor. How about this? You allow me to speak with the owner. Do you think we could make that happen?" Veronica's eyebrows shot up, and for the very first time she appeared genuinely caught off guard. "The owner?" "Precisely," Orion affirmed, his tone light, almost conversational. "I'd like to have a word with them." Veronica's lips twitched in a poor, strained attempt at a smile. Well, that's simply not feasible today. The owner doesn't just casually drop by for visits. They are a profoundly busy individual. I'm quite sure they are, Orion conceded, nodding slightly. But perhaps you could give them a call? Let them know I'm here. I strongly suspect they'd be eager to meet me. Veronica's smile tightened, her patience visibly wearing thin, and it showed in every subtle facial cue. Look, sir, I am striving to be as polite as humanly possible, but this is becoming rather absurd. I have other discerning customers who require my attention. If you are truly serious about acquiring an automobile, we can arrange a meeting with one of our esteemed sales consultants. Otherwise what? Orion interjected, his voice still calm, though an unmistakable edge now resided within it. Veronica's eyes narrowed, her mounting frustration beginning to bubble unequivocally to the surface. Otherwise, I shall unfortunately have to request that you depart. The words hung heavy in the air, laden with unmistakable implication. Orion remained utterly still, his gaze firmly locked with hers. For a profound moment, the entire showroom seemed to collectively hold its breath. Then, slowly, deliberately, Orion reached into his pocket and produced his phone. All right, he declared, scrolling through his contacts. I'll initiate the call myself. Veronica blinked, her brow furrowing in confusion. What are you doing? Just contacting the owner, Orion replied, lifting the phone to his ear. Shouldn't take long at all. Veronica's unwavering confidence wavered, her irritation swiftly giving way to a deepening bewilderment. She parted her lips to speak, but no sound emerged. Around them, a few employees had ceased their activities, their attention now riveted on the unfolding drama. Orion held up a single finger as if to signal, just a moment, then subtly turned away, speaking softly into the phone. Yes, it's me. I'm at the dealership. Everything is perfectly fine, just a minor misunderstanding. Could you please inform them that I'm here? He concluded the call and smoothly returned the phone to his pocket, turning back to Veronica. They will be arriving shortly, he stated simply. Veronica stared at him, her mouth slightly agape. Who exactly did you just call? Orion did not respond immediately. Instead, he cast a lingering glance around the showroom, his gaze settling on the staff, who were now watching with undisguised intensity. I suppose we'll find out, he said, his tone almost playful. The tension in the room became almost a tangible entity, its weight pressing down on every single person present. Veronica shifted uncomfortably, her composure visibly beginning to crack. Minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, the room seemingly frozen in time. Veronica busied herself with her clipboard, though her movements were stiff and overtly deliberate, betraying her profound unease. Orion, conversely, stood with casual grace by one of the luxurious SUVs, his serene demeanor only intensifying the prevailing tension. The few employees scattered throughout the showroom murmured in hushed whispers to one another, stealing furtive glances at the unfolding scene. It was undeniably clear that everyone was waiting for something, or, more precisely, someone. The distinct sound of the main door's opening shattered the oppressive silence. A sharply dressed man in a sleek navy suit stepped inside, his polished shoes clicking softly against the immaculate tile floor. His expression was serious yet inherently warm, and his eyes immediately found Orion. "Mr. Thorne!" the man exclaimed with a broad, genuine smile, extending his hand as he approached. "So genuinely good to see you." Orion returned the handshake with a firm, confident grip, a small, knowing smile playing at the corners of his lips. "Thanks for coming, Silas. I appreciate it." The room collectively stiffened. Veronica's clipboard nearly slipped from her trembling hands as her eyes frantically darted between Orion and Silas, the dealership's highly respected regional director. Her initial confusion swiftly transformed into visible, stark alarm. "Wait, Mr. Thorne?" she echoed, her voice laced with uncertainty. Silas turned to her, his previously friendly demeanor instantly shifting into something far more professional, almost curt. "Veronica, I see you've already had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Thorne." Veronica blinked, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly, as though desperately searching for the correct words. I I didn't realize. You didn't realize he's the brand new owner of this very dealership? Silas finished for her, his tone sharp and unwavering. He glanced at Orion, an apologetic expression now softening his features. I trust this wasn't exactly your ideal welcome. Orion raised a hand, gently halting him. Ça me ferait plaisir. It's perfectly all right, Silas. I believe Veronica and I simply got off on the wrong foot. His voice was calm, yet there was a profound weight to his words that compelled everyone in the room to hang on to each syllable. Veronica's face turned an ashen white, and she involuntarily took a step back, her clipboard clutched tightly to her chest like a vital lifeline. I am so profoundly sorry, she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. I truly didn't know. You didn't know what? Orion inquired, his tone still gentle, yet unmistakably firm. That I could own a place such as this? That someone like me might actually belong here? Her eyes widened, and for a fleeting moment she appeared utterly, completely lost. I didn't mean... Orion held up a hand, gracefully cutting her off. It's fine, Veronica. Truly. He took a single step closer, his voice dropping just enough to make everyone instinctively lean in, straining to hear. But allow me to ask you something. If I hadn't been the owner, would you have treated me any differently? Would you have accorded me the same respect you'd bestow upon someone who walked in here wearing a sharp suit and tie? Veronica parted her lips, but no words emerged. The silence that followed was utterly deafening. Orion nodded slowly, as if her profound silence was a sufficient answer in itself. He then turned to Silas, his voice now imbued with a new, commanding authority. Let's gather everyone in the conference room. I believe it's time we had a little conversation about how things are conducted around here. The employees filed into the sleek conference room, the air thick with an almost palpable tension. The room, designed to impress with its glass walls and modern furnishings, felt stifling and oppressive on this particular day. Veronica sat near the back, her usual confident demeanor utterly replaced by a nervous, rigid stillness. Orion stood at the head of the polished table, calm and collected, his commanding presence effortlessly drawing the attention of everyone in the room. Silas remained near the door, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable as he observed the staff taking their seats. The quiet murmur of whispers gradually died down as Orion cleared his throat, his gaze sweeping deliberately across the entire group. Asmaum, thank you all for joining me on such brief notice, Orion began, his tone measured but undeniably firm. For those of you who may not be aware, my name is Orion Thorne, and as of last month, I am the new owner of Apex Motors. There were murmurs of surprise from a few employees, their reactions ranging from genuine curiosity to visible embarrassment. Veronica visibly sank lower in her chair, actively avoiding eye contact. I came here today, dressed casually for a precise reason, Orion continued, his voice steady and unwavering. I desired to observe how this dealership truly operates when no one knows my true identity. I wanted to experience precisely what a potential customer might feel walking through these very doors. He allowed his words to settle, to truly sink in for a moment before continuing. What I experienced today was, frankly, disappointing. I was judged not for what I could contribute, but for my mere outward appearance. And I am not here to single out any individual, but we absolutely need to discuss what that particular experience reveals about the core culture of this dealership. Veronica shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her face visibly flushed with shame. Orion's eyes briefly, subtly flicked to her, before moving back to encompass the group as a whole. This isn't merely about me, he articulated. It's about every single person who walks through those doors, every potential customer who doesn't conform to someone's preconceived notion of what a luxury car buyer looks like. One of the younger sales associates hesitantly raised his hand. Orion nodded encouragingly towards him. Go ahead. Mr. Thorne, the man began nervously, I believe most of us genuinely try to treat customers fairly, but sometimes it's genuinely difficult not to make certain assumptions. Orion nodded, his expression thoughtful and understanding. I grasp that entirely, he stated. We all possess biases, whether we are willing to admit it or not. But here is the crucial point. It is simply not enough to merely try to be fair. We must actively, consciously challenge those biases. We must cultivate an environment where every individual feels profoundly respected, regardless of their appearance, their background, or any other superficial factor. He paused, allowing his words to deeply resonate before continuing. This dealership has meticulously built a stellar reputation for excellence. But true excellence isn't solely about the magnificent cars we sell. It is fundamentally about the unparalleled experience we provide. And from this moment forward, that experience will be unequivocally built upon respect, inclusivity, and absolute fairness. A ripple of agreement spread through the room, though a few faces remained wary, their expressions still uncertain. Orion's gaze gently yet firmly settled upon Veronica, who sat utterly frozen, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Veronica, he addressed her, his tone gentle but firm, I wish to extend to you the opportunity to speak. Is there anything you would like to convey? All eyes turned to her. She hesitated, her voice barely audible when she finally spoke. I made a profound mistake, she admitted, her cheeks flushed scarlet. I entirely misjudged you, and for that I am truly, deeply sorry. Orion nodded, his expression still unreadable. Thank you for acknowledging that, he responded. I genuinely hope this experience will serve as a potent reminder for all of us, not just for you, because meaningful change inherently begins with accountability. He turned back to the larger group, his voice now imbued with renewed purpose. Moving forward, we will be meticulously implementing new training programs to ensure this dealership unequivocally represents the core values I deeply believe in. Every single customer deserves to be treated with absolute dignity and respect, with no exceptions whatsoever. If anyone has any issue with that fundamental principle, now is the opportune moment to speak up. The room descended into an expectant, profound silence. The silence in the conference room was utterly deafening, broken only by the faint, almost imperceptible hum of the air conditioning. Not a single soul spoke, but the immense weight of Orion's words lingered, pressing down on every individual present. Orion allowed the profound quiet to stretch, just long enough to unequivocally make his point, before speaking again, his voice calm yet utterly resolute. Good, he declared. I am genuinely pleased to see that we are all on precisely the same page. Change isn't always easy, but it is undeniably necessary, and this dealership is going to lead by exceptional example. He took a single step away from the table, his hands resting lightly on its edge as he leaned forward slightly, his gaze sweeping across the faces before him. Let me make something absolutely clear. I did not come here today with any intention to humiliate anyone. I came to profoundly understand what kind of culture I have inherited and how we can collectively make it better, stronger, more inclusive. His eyes moved purposefully to Veronica, who still sat quietly near the back, her gaze fixed on him. Veronica, he said, his tone softening just enough to make it crystal clear that he was not attacking her. You are an incredibly experienced manager, and I am certain you have worked immensely hard to achieve your current position. But today was an essential wake-up call for you, and, indeed, for all of us. Veronica looked up, finally meeting his gaze for the first time with an earnest intensity. I understand, she said, her voice shaky but imbued with genuine sincerity. I was wrong, and I will do whatever it takes, absolutely whatever it takes, to make this right. Orion nodded slowly. I profoundly believe in second chances, he stated simply. But accountability, I must stress, comes first. I will be meeting with you one-on-one very soon to discuss the crucial next steps. For now, let us all focus on moving forward with unified purpose. He straightened, turning his unwavering attention back to the rest of the dedicated team. We are not simply selling cars here. We are meticulously building trust, diligently creating lasting relationships, and unequivocally representing an unparalleled standard of excellence. If you are entirely on board with that unwavering vision, I am here to support you every single step of the way, without reservation. There was a murmur of agreement, this time notably louder and far more genuine. The staff seemed to collectively relax the initial suffocating tension, giving way to a palpable sense of renewed purpose and shared commitment. Even Silas, who had been standing quietly by the door, nodded in clear, approving agreement. Orion smiled faintly, the kind of smile that subtly hinted at both a profound sense of relief and an unwavering determination. "All right, then," he concluded, his voice resonating with positive energy. "Let's all get back to work. And always remember this: how we treat people truly matters more than anything we could ever possibly sell." As the employees began to file out of the room, Orion noticed Veronica lingering by the door. She approached him hesitantly, her hands twisting nervously, a picture of profound earnestness. "And Mr. Thorne," she began, her voice low and filled with emotion, I truly want to thank you for giving me this chance to do better. I promise you I will not let you down." Orion looked at her for a moment, his gaze steady and searching, before responding. His voice was calm and reassuring. "I sincerely hope you mean that, Veronica. Actions, after all, consistently speak louder than mere words. But I truly believe people can change, genuinely change, if they are truly willing to try." She nodded, her eyes earnest and filled with a newfound resolve. "I am." Orion watched her leave, a sense of quiet satisfaction settling within him, before turning to Silas. "Let's schedule a follow-up meeting with the entire staff for next week," he suggested. "I want to ensure absolutely everyone knows precisely what is expected, moving forward." Silas grinned, his deep respect for Orion now abundantly evident. "You've got it, boss." As Orion stepped back into the gleaming showroom, he glanced around at the cars, their pristine surfaces reflecting the soft afternoon light. He contemplated how much vital work lay ahead, how many cultural shifts needed to take root. But for the very first time that day, he felt an undeniable surge of optimism. This wasn't merely about efficiently running a dealership. It was about meticulously creating something far bigger, something more impactful, a welcoming space where people were judged unequivocally by their character, by the content of their hearts, not by their superficial appearance. And Orion was, without a doubt, ready to lead the way, to pioneer this transformative change.